the Easy Care Chevy from Forest Acres, South Carolina, Jordan Anderson.
Saturday night racing at EchoPark Speedway. Jordan Anderson back behind the wheel with his most devoted supporters, making the trip a family affair on pit road. And his company is Jordan Anderson Racing Bommarito Autosport. There is his partner, John Bommarito, whose name is part of the familiar logo you see on the cars, the gear. This organization, as we've documented in its first season of running 3 cars full-time in NASCAR's O'Reilly Series. And the number 32 cars featured a driver by committee, but it worked out to where Jordan was able to be back in the cockpit for the second time in 2026. He finished 4th in the season opener in Daytona. Instead of wearing headsets, a golf shirt, and slacks, and overseeing his 3 cars on top of a pit box, Jordan was in the arena competing in the Focused Health 250 at EchoPark Speedway as the driver of the number 32 Easy Care Chevrolet.
Who climbs into the cockpit, the owner or the driver?
The owner climbs in the cockpit, and somewhere when they say driver, start your engines, and you flip that switch and the engine comes on, the driver pops up in there somewhere when you roll off onto pit road on the racetrack. So you got to kind of put it all behind you, and I definitely say in my driving style I'm probably a little bit more conservative at times just because I know how much these things cost. So you give and take, but I think a lot of times with how I race and how these races go, being a little bit on the conservative side early on puts us in a really good spot at the end, and then you can be aggressive. I mean, you watched Daytona earlier this year. I was super aggressive on the last lap because I knew I put ourselves in that spot. So you can't win the race if you're not there at the end, and that's a big part of it.
Well, Jordan started the race at the rear of the field, but methodically worked his way up the leaderboard. In fact, he spent a good portion of the race in the top 15, and he was knocking on the door of a top 10 finish or better until he was caught up in one of those late race incidents and finished 27th. But the good news is his organization's body of work has a trajectory that is pointed in the right direction.
Miss doing this every week. You know, it's one of those things that the team has grown leaps and bounds, and that's the priority over anything right now is making sure the team's where it needs to be and putting that first. And if I do get to run every now and then, that's just a cherry on top. But we're working hard for next year, hopefully bring in some new partners. I'd like to get back behind the wheel some more, and I feel like every time I run, show that we have good speed. So that's the driver in me, hoping I can get to run a little bit more next year if we can put all the pieces together. So we're actively working on all this stuff for 2027 right now, and hopefully everything will keep growing. The team will be in a good place, and we'll keep this thing growing every single year.